Well, hello everyone. My name is Tommy. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of NPX Point Avenue, which oversees all of our Point Avenue centers and also our K-12 True North School. Today we have a special guest with us. He's my younger brother, Calvin Nguyen. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Calvin. I'm Tommy's younger brother. I graduated of West Point 2018. I'm currently a captain in the U.S. Army, former captain in the 75th Ranger Regiment.
Okay. So just to embellish on a little bit of my younger brother, to talk about his past experiences, right? Everybody knows about, kind of myself, a little bit about my military background, that of many of our original co-founders. But within my own family, I have a younger sister. Her name is Jennifer. And then I have my younger brother here, Calvin, who I have a very special relationship with. Calvin graduated from West Point in 2018. So I think it's 11 years after myself, right, Calvin? And then from there, like myself, he went into the infantry and then spent time in the special operations community via the 75th Ranger Regiment. A very famed elite infantry organization. Recently, my brother and I took a trip. So it was a planned vacation and break for the both of us. Calvin had recently returned from a operational deployment. Myself, it was kind of like Christmas, New Year's, winter break. We decided to take a trip to Patagonia. So Patagonia is a southern wilderness region based in both Chile and then also Argentina. So just to give a description, the area that we visited was an area called Torres del Paine of Patagonia in Chile, right? Together we had selected and gone this hike. It's called the O Circuit Trek, right? It's a very famed trek, very difficult trek, which spans across, I think we thought it was going to be 140 kilometers, a little bit closer to 150, maybe 160 kilometers. And it took us 7 days to complete this arduous kind of trek. So today, just kind of want to discuss some of the, questions that some of our commentators, put forth to us. And lucky very enough to have my younger brother join us from, the United States, out in the beautiful state of Alabama. So one of our a lot of things that either, my own team members or a lot of our commentators inquiring is just like, it's just like, why would anyone or why would two brothers kind of like pick up a vacation, decide to go on this 150 kilometer trek? I've shared my own thoughts and reasons, and even then I had to kind of like circle back on it because I know I had my initial reasons, and then I know I had my reasons when I was in it with you. But I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll start with personal. So at the time, it was really a time of transition. I was finished with my 2 years in special operations with 75th Ranger Regiment, and I wanted to do something nostalgic. So for the 75th Ranger Regiment, for our uniforms, it's actually created by Patagonia, and I thought it'd be really a nice send-off for myself with special operations that I could actually go to its namesake and walk through the mountains that our unit proudly wears when we go into combat. But I think a personal or a more open reason why we went is one, for specifically for Tommy, we haven't really spent time together, just him and me, since 2018. But this time I really thought that if we could do this together, just him and me, that'd be like a perfect time to do it. And it just came down to, let's stop wishing that we could do it and let's just actually go do it together. And it just became more special when I asked Tommy if he'd go with me, and it meant a lot when he was like, yeah, let's put this together. Let's get out there as soon as we can.
No, thank you for sharing that. I mean, even then, as the audience is listening to this, I'm learning new things as well. One of our commentators or fans put forth a question: can you share more about the adventures you and Calvin have gone through over the years? Is this one of the hardest challenges you've ever experienced, right? They saw a lot of our pictures together, summiting the Gardner Pass, going up to Torres del Paine, all sorts of stuff. Calvin and I have done a cross-country road trip through the U.S. That was an amazing thing. We've done trips through Japan. We've done trips through Vietnam. But we've never really done outdoor hikes or anything challenging. For this kind of special trip for Calvin and me, this trek, again, it's 150 kilometers. Most people, so there's a recommend that you take 9 days. So there's a camping site for each of those 9 days. And at each of those camping sites, there are readily set up tents. There are restaurants to provide food, whatever all those things are, right? The opposite of that is you have the opportunity to carry your tent, carry your sleeping bag, carry all your food, right? And then go forth with it. And Calvin and I, we're a little bit maybe prideful. Ego probably got a little bit in the way. We're like, you know what? We've rough-necked it before. We're going to sustain ourselves. So we decided to carry everything ourselves.
It's not a cheap experience right there in and of itself. You have to make your reservations with camps every single night. And at that point, it's like, well, where can we save money? And that really came down to us saying, yeah, we can pack our own, little tents, our own little sleeping bags, our own food every day, 3 meals a day, our own coffee every single day, our own snacks, all that. And in the Army, we say ounces equal pounds. But then the last part of that is that pounds equals pain. So as you're slowly adding small things up top of each other, you're saying, oh, you know what? Like bringing coffee is not a big deal. And then you turn around, you're like, well, that's almost another pound of things that we didn't really need to bring. But that's kind of how we added some undue stress on ourselves for the trip.
Moving on to the next question here. This is interesting. This is kind of an emotional topic. I've seen your taped zip-tied boots. What were the highlights or lowlights of the hike? I mean, just for people to understand, this 150-kilometer trek, we're only 50 kilometers into it. We have 100 left. And here I have with these boots that are falling apart, which is embarrassing, right? This is not no great feat. This is embarrassing. But it was just something that Calvin was looking at me, was like, really? You didn't inspect your boots? Me is like, yes, I did inspect my boots. Here we are. What are we going to do? And it was a decision. It was we could either stop, get on a ferry and go home, right? But if we did that, it was just me and Calvin, we don't get a lot of moments to spend time with one another. So if we did that, which Calvin would have been okay with, right? Just to save his brother and just protect his health, it'd be okay. But for me, it was we rarely get a time, right? And it wasn't I'm going to gung-ho and do this. There were some deep fears. And I remember there was a moment where we passed day 3, Garner Pass, which gets us into the western side of the O circuit. And this is a big glacial area. So you got to go massive uphill, right? Massive. You have to climb a mountain. And my boots were tearing apart. And it was cold and it was snowy and windy, rainy. But coming down, my boots are falling apart. I was blistering. My knees hurt. My back hurt. And the first time in my life, out of all my 10 years in the military, I had never, ever gone on a hike where I just laid down on my back. But for the first time in my life, and Calvin watched this, and I think he just watched it just kind of I don't know what's going on. I just laid down on my back because it was tough. It was tough in the sense that it wasn't supposed to be tough, but it was tough because I brought it on myself, right? I didn't inspect my boots. These things happen. And Calvin was looking at me, and it was it could have been a conflict. Calvin could have just looked at me. I was like, yo, dude, you need to man up and just go do this. But Calvin just quietly supported me. I asked him as I was laying on my back, hey, dude, can you just hand me a beef jerky stick? He did it. He just quietly watched me. I was looking at the stars, the heaven. I was like, God, give me the strength to finish this. It was a very humbling experience. I never thought in all of our time planning this that this is where I would be.
Yeah, I think if our viewers are not familiar with the phrase Murphy's Law, is this law in physics that just things will always trend towards just disorder and chaos. Things will eventually disintegrate, fall apart if you just leave something by itself. So
to put it simply, anything that can't go wrong will go wrong, right? That's Murphy's law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Correct.
Go on.
Yeah. So on this trip, we learned, like Murphy's law always has the final say at the end. You can plan everything you want. I think if Tommy and I showed other people our packing list beforehand, people will say that we overpacked. And yet when we finally did it, by day 3, you saw that Tommy and I did not fully prepare for this trip, Some things just did not go correctly, no matter how much thought and effort we put into it. But you know what? That's okay. That's where you really learn more about yourself. And again, like I said before, like lowlights, you work through it, they turn into highlights, and everything happens kind of for a reason, as long as you don't quit on yourself. And like Tommy said, we could have just got on a boat and just went home, but man, we spent 6 to 8 months, lots of money, lots of planning, lots of emotional, input on this adventure, and we weren't going to let a couple bad things happen. So we decided to, stop being so sorry for ourselves, and we decided to work through it, and it ended up becoming one of the greatest trips of our life. So bad things are always going to happen, but the one thing that you can control is how you feel about it and what you do next.
For me, it's like I'm seen as this educational / leadership person, right? Or at least a teacher thereof. And I teach on my experiences. But this was definitely a moment. And, we talk about grit, we talk about resilience, we talk about working towards purpose, mission, and so forth, right? Like sacrifice towards mission. But I think life gives us moments and opportunities to practice what we preach, right? Obviously, I preach this a lot. And it's been a long time since I've had to really practice it. And in that moment, when I was laying on my back, I could have gone like, why heavens are we, why is this doing this? I could have just taken the quick boat, the easy boat, take the boat, go back home, call it a day, right? And Calvin and I would have been fine. But it was just like, for me, it was a commitment to a purpose. My purpose was to spend time with my brother. My purpose was to do something meaningful with him. And it was like, if I took the boat home, the ferry home, it was just like, I would have just cut this short. Not to say that we all need to, quote unquote, suck it out, but it was important that I lived up to what we put forth, right? Spend time with my brother. Part of this was also, I knew this was going to be a somewhat arduous trip, but also to live up to maybe the warrior that I had still seen myself as, right? And so when life presents you challenges, it's important for you to live up to the words that you put out to people. Otherwise, what are those words? Those words are nothing, right? One of our commentators or fans asking, I'm passionate about camping and experiencing wildlife. It feels like I discover my inner strength and recharge after each journey. But I never imagined I'd be able to do kind of like such treks or journey. What do I need to do to prepare to do something on the scale of like Taurus Alpine or other similar ventures? You can go ahead and just hike outdoors. You'll be generally fine, right? It's all about managing kind of our cardio levels. It's fine. There's other things there, but I want to make sure that all of our viewers know hiking, trekking, it's all very doable. It's not that extreme. I think it comes really to packing and everything else. Number 2 is start with short day hikes, right? 3 to 5 kilometers, right? Go pick a Saturday hike, go pick a Sunday hike. 3 to 5 kilometers, work yourself up to it.
Thanks everybody for listening to our wild stories. If you guys got any takeaways from us, just know that whatever you want to do, it's just always going to be worth it as long as you do it with somebody, worth doing it with. And it might be a bad time in the present, but it's going to be a good time.
It's a reflection of a lot of things that we are here at Point Avenue, everything from our co-founders to our team members. We finally innovated and launched our grit camps, right? Or drop point challenges now. And so I'm very proud to announce that in this month of February here, we'll be launching another Drop Point Challenge around the 25th through 26th of February 2023, where I'll be personally leading. And hopefully, by plan and organization, distilling a lot of life lessons that myself and Calvin discussed here in our trip, right? But teaching our students, whether middle school or high school, how to plan for a specific camping operation, and then how to pack, how to hike, how to endure, and all the life lessons that go in between. And I very much look forward to the opportunity to mentor, coach our students through all of these things. That's only one part of it. That's a very small subset of it. I think it's in the Drop Point Challenge, right? Meeting other people, learning other people, having the opportunity to motivate other people through their own moments of challenges, that our students really get to grow, right? Outside of their traditional classrooms, especially in kind of our current time where a lot of our students are, just day to day going through classes, experiencing their life at school, going home and so forth. But really to take them from all of that, to give them a chance to reflect alongside very highly trained, experienced mentors, to help them grow and think of what's next. So I'm looking forward to all this, right? I'm very proud of these Drop Point Challenges or like mini leadership experiences that we're providing for our students here. So again, thank you to our viewers today. Thanks for chiming in and obviously listening to mine and Calvin's story about our recent trip to Torso Pine and then also Patagonia, and also all the life lessons we learned.
Thanks everybody for listening to our wild stories.
All right, thank you all. You all have a wonderful day.